Welcome to Show Me Sports Legacies. Today I'm here with Chris Ockenfels, my co-host, and we're sitting in Ann and Bruce Constant's dining room with a bunch of people. Probably more people in the room than might listen to our average podcast, but we're going to make this work and have some fun. We are literally next to the golf course where a lot of these ladies that we're going to talk to today learn the game of golf. We're here to hear their stories, but I'm kind of here to look for some balls that I hit over here in the early 1990s.
I think a lot of golfers that have been in this area have walked by this house and thought two things. A lot of great golfers came from that house, and my ball's probably in the backyard. So we have a lot of great things to cover. This group that really started their own legacy at Trenton High School through the golf program have a lot of great stories to tell.
We have a lot of people here today, but the first two that I'm going to introduce, Ann Constant, who was the coach for a big portion of this run. And this run started in the early 1990s, and it really didn't end until the 2013-14 range. We're talking over a 20-year run for great golf. And Ann was coach for over a dozen years of that. And her daughters were very involved in that. And we've got Rachel with us. So Ann Constant and Rachel Slonecker Sides is with us, and she's here to talk about a state golf championship in her time at Trenton High School. But we've got a lot of great golfers that are here to talk about the run-up of that and literally years where it was expected that Trenton would finish in the top 10 at the state tournament.
Yeah, and a lot of things have changed over the last few years in golf, and we have to go way back to 1997 to realize that the team we're going to talk about won their state championship when it was one class that was competing down at the state tournament. And then since then, it's developed into multiple classes. This group that we're going to talk with, particularly the one that won the state title, really has a lot to be proud of because they did it in front of everybody, all the classes, the private schools, the big schools. They went down as Trenton High School and won in 1997.
They had to climb a pretty big mountain to get there. So I'm going to start off with the question, Ann, can you give us just a little bit of history about Trenton golf for the girls?
The girls' golf team was first introduced, I think, in about 1974, 75. I believe it was maybe 4 or 5 years that they had girls' golf. And then it was reintroduced in 1990, 91. And I wasn't involved at that point in time. I did come out and watch the girls play some. I got involved. Well, Rachel, my oldest daughter, went out for golf her freshman year and her sophomore year. And then her junior year, the coach position was available, and I applied for it and got to be the coach, and then continued doing that until I retired, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I think one of the best parts of that was I worked with elementary kids, and then I got to work with the kids again when they were in high school. The tradition of excellence, I think, started when the kids were young. We did golf camps and clinics and had them playing when they were little. And a lot of that, honestly, goes back to parents and parents getting them out on the golf course and spending time in the summers playing golf.
We did a story about Gallatin boys golf.
Yes.
And they kind of kicked off their era just shortly after you guys.
Yes.
And had some of those same characteristics.
Yes.
They just were out there on the course constantly.
Yeah,
Yes.
I remember being on what we refer to as the youth circuit. And that's something that we kind of laugh about. And you don't see that a lot anymore right now. And we would go from town to town, and the Gallatin boys, some of the Brookfield girls, some of the Chillicothe kids, we became friends. And we refer to it as the youth circuit. And they were just a couple years younger than I was in high school. So being able to follow Bryce and all that has been awesome.
It has been. And actually, the kids all became friends, as did the parents, because we were sitting there waiting as they played in their tournament. And so we got to spend a lot of time together as well.
I think that's part of the story that we saw with tennis. It becomes kind of a family, a community of people seeing each other at school, seeing each other with the lights on late at night at the tennis courts or out here in the hottest part of the day playing golf. It just creates a bond.
Yeah, and the common theme seems to be the parents that get involved early and make it available for their kids, whether they open up a gym, let them have golf clubs on a golf course, or whatever sport it is, get them a glove, that when they get them early and give them an opportunity, that kind of blossoms into the success late.
Yes, you're absolutely right. It's not always easy to take your kids to play golf, but the younger you start them, I think the better it is. Amy Hurst McCullough is one of the girls here. And I can remember one time playing with her parents. I don't know if it was Ron or Marcia. Somebody had marked their ball with a penny. Got ready to go back to putt. No penny. Somebody picked it up. I think about a little 2 or 3-year-old had picked it up and put it in her pocket. And that would have been Amy.
Who knew the rules? I mean, when you're 3, come on.
Right. You see money.
You're going to go for it. How about if we start around with anybody that wants to talk about youth
Sure.
golf? You want to start us off, Rachel?
You know, obviously growing up on the golf course, and my parents golfed and my grandparents sort of golfed and liked to watch us on the golf course. And we played a lot of golf. I can tell you my sister played a heck of a lot more golf than I did because if my parents were asking me to do it, I probably went to the swimming pool. You know, the youth tournaments are something that I still look back on. I still have those core memories. And, you know, I have 2 kids of my own, 19 and 16. And you don't see the youth golf like you used to. And I think a lot of that, you know, sports these days, and, you know, you're talking about your podcast cover the history of sports, right, in this area. And I think all of us who are parents would also agree that youth sports take over, and it's insane. And so if you are a basketball player, you are playing basketball year round. If you are a baseballer, it's cutting in, and these kids are having to make these choices. And my own kids don't golf as much as I did. My son does a little bit more. And it's interesting. I would love to bring that back. I'm coaching this year, and my kids have never played before. And so the value of the youth, the memories that we had, it was just something we did. And then when we got to high school, it was awesome. Our best friends are ones that we met on the course. Our best friends are from other schools. We are still connected to them today. And I think a lot of that is missing in girls golf, especially, but golf in general.
Sarah Slonecker Harris has joined us. Younger sister, competitor, member of your team. I saw a lot of scores that were pretty close between you two over the years.
Yeah, I can remember that they were competitive, but they were also great kids. I had an experience with them in basketball. Both of them were in the basketball program at THS, and you just remember that they were both likable kids, hardworking, had a good moral background, great support from their family and the community. And so I got to see them in basketball practice every day. Rachel was on the varsity team when I started, and Sarah was on my first ever JV team. Matter of fact, scored, I think, 4 or 6 points in the first game we ever played, and we lost like 46-14. I don't know if you remember that. But those kids were so much fun, and watching them be able to compete not only in basketball, but win a state title in golf was amazing.
Thank you, Coach Ockenfels. Yes, we have a lot of really great memories growing up. We were so fortunate that basically in our backyard was the 9-hole golf course. And so summers were spent waking up, going to the golf course, going to the swimming pool, playing softball games at night. And as we became teenagers, we got more competitive with our golf. We were able to go on Mondays to a league in Kansas City and play kids from the Kansas City area and play a lot more competitive courses, which really prepared us for competitive golf in high school. But I just think the really neat memories for me just include that it was family to us. For my sister and I to come together and it'd be a team sport win my sophomore year, her senior year, was just a dream come true. So as our mom as our coach and our dad often being a coach with our swing and various parts of full support as well. And like my sister said, grandparents and neighbors and friends and family. And my good friend Lesley on the team as well. It was a lot of our upbringing, and it came to a wonderful memory to have that win together. So yeah, it was a lot of hard work, but it was so enjoyable. And the beauty of golf is that it is something that is a lifelong sport. You know, you don't have to be in terrific aerobic shape and run miles a day to play golf. Just getting right back out there, swinging again. And as we all know, a lot of it is our short game, going out and putting and chipping and scoring that well. And what's neat as adults is my sister and I have played in a few scramble tournaments. Another couple gals that you'll get to hear from, Amy and Jill, we've all played in some scramble tournaments as well in Kansas City and in northern Missouri. When you come together and put your strengths together and what you can do together, it's just really fun. And that's what it's all about. So
Jill is up next, and I heard you guys call her the OG when she came in. So I think the background here is that you started this run in 1990 when the program came back into existence, and tell us a little bit about how that all happened. I think you know who the coach was too at that point, and how it all started and what you remember from that early run.
Well, I think Sarah was saying how golf really brings family and friendships, and just kind of like that was one of the main reasons, like just even growing up and learning to play golf when I was like 4 and 5 years old. Like my dad, like cutting off the golf clubs and teaching my sister Amy and I, and just learning from my grandmother, my nanny, my mom's mom, Donna Swings. And there was just so much like what we...
Wait, I got to stop you.
Yep.
What was her last name?
Owings.
Owings, okay.
Owings.
I thought you said Swings for a second. I was like, no way that would...
Right.
She
It
was
should
going to
have
be a
been.
golf fan,
It
and
should
her
have
last name
been.
was Swings.
She was an amazing golfer.
Right.
She was
Her
an
nickname was Swings,
Yes.
Grandma Swings.
Yeah,
okay.
she was an amazing golfer. But just so you know, golf, just bringing the family together and the connections you make on the golf course. So yes, as you said, they started up the girls' golf team in 1990. It had been gone for a decade. I had always played growing up, but I wasn't the best at all. But I loved just being out there and being on Riverside Country Club. And when they were bringing it back, it was just really inspiring. With girls' sports, at the time, it was basketball, tennis, track. And so just another girls' sport that they were adding. It was really exciting. At the time, I had one friend that played golf. And so I got her, Erin Womack, to join. And then we just kind of reached out to our friends and said, hey, we're starting up golf. Let's go out. So there were 6, I think maybe 7 of us on the team. And I think 3 of us had played golf in our entire lives. So Karen Bailey, Coach Bailey, was our coach. And that was a lot of learning that year. I just remember Coach Bailey would follow us around to make sure that we were counting every stroke, because some people, it was like learning how to play golf and like counting all the strokes. No, it's every stroke. And no, it's every one, even the ones that you actually don't hit the ball. So yeah, I had so many memories from that year. Again, my senior year. So a lot of my friends, three of my friends were in our senior class, and just and very close. So just kind of helped us secure those memories of our senior year. I don't know what our record was. I think we won maybe 2 matches that year, but we did beat Chillicothe. I do know.
Yes.
Good for you.
And our football team beat Chillicothe that year. And I think it's been like 26 years since we beat Chillicothe. So
That's right.
I mean,
yeah,
I feel
fall
like
of 90.
we were a success and in the fact that we beat Chillicothe. So
And we're going to pass it now to Amy, who had a run from 1991 to 94, kind of took the torch was passed, so to speak, and tell us about your experience in a program that now has been started, and then now it's starting to pick up momentum and get some success going.
So I also got to be coached by Karen Bailey, which was amazing. Like Jill said, she was a competitor, and she did it the right way. We knew what was expected of us with all of our rounds of golf. I played with probably the same as my sister, about 3 or 4 good friends throughout my high school career. And then my senior year was when Rachel became a part of the team. She was a freshman. And I remember my freshman year, I went to state by myself. So that was my first experience with state golf. I had played in, Rachel was saying, the North Missouri circuit, but I'd never done like a state level competition. So that was kind of neat. I know at that point, Coach Bailey was going through some health struggles. So Coach Ferguson was my official coach. I'm sure my dad was right there alongside following me as well and helping me along. After that, our sophomore, junior, and senior year, we qualified as a team. I was just looking back today at my Loma Hurst vault of Republican Times articles. And we actually got 7th my senior year, and I think I tied for 19th place. So I don't remember that. I wouldn't have remembered that without those articles. So thank you to her for keeping all of that for me. But I have great memories of golf from when I was 3 years old, when Ann talked about.
Yeah.
I remember taking one of the people here today, Lesley. I used to babysit her and her brother, and we would just on our daily fun, we would come to the golf course and play golf every day and then go swimming. So, I mean, it's been a part of my life forever. I now have the privilege of being a mom to 2 boys that golf, it continues to be a great part of our life, and I'm very thankful for all the opportunities it's brought, as well as all the friendships, and really throughout all of North Missouri. I mean, when I went to Mizzou, I have so many friends from there that I had played golf with growing up, so it really makes just a smaller community, which is pretty amazing.
One of the things I think is impressive, and sometimes we do get caught up in the trophies and the plaques, but you finished 22nd out of 119 golfers on your own that year without a team behind you, and you held up pretty well. I'd say that was pretty good accomplishment and really set the tone where Rachel and other people saw that and thought, we could do something here.
That's right.
Well, thanks for that reminder. I didn't know that.
Okay, up next we have Lesley McKay Arnold, who was a part of the 1997 state championship team as a sophomore. Lesley, tell us about your experience coming into a program as a youngster, a freshman and sophomore, knowing there were expectations, some success before you, and now you've got a chance with the 5 girls to do something really special. When did you know right from the beginning that, oh my gosh, we could probably do something really special with this group? Or did you know?
I did not know. But going back to, thanks for bringing us together.
Oh, all right.
I love these people in this room. They mean a lot to me. So going back to like the beginning of my golf journey, it started when I was around 8 or 10 years old. Sarah, my best friend, and this is like my second home growing up. And so if I wasn't here on the weekends or in the summer every single night, then I don't know where I was, but I was here a lot. And so Sarah's like, well, let's play golf. Okay. Probably also a little bit pushed by Ann and Joe and Bruce too. Mm-hmm. Just being here on the golf course, and really, I'm not very competitive. So I remember Sarah practicing so much and me just kind of out there, just kind of being there, and just there to have fun and be with my friends. And that's where all the cute boys were too. So.
And I knew there's the real motivation, folks. Write it down.
Yeah. For all of them.
And so a lot of my younger memories with golf come from Anne taking us to Brookfield and Marceline and the Pepsi tournament in Columbia. And like they said before, just meeting new people, meeting people from the surrounding towns, and just having a lot of fun, staying in hotel rooms and spending the day together, and then golfing and swimming and just being together.
Sarah played in this KCGA that she talked about on Mondays. And lots of times Lesley would go with me and we'd go shop while Sarah was playing because they didn't let parents on the courses. It was just the kids.
Yeah.
And Lesley and I, Sarah was at Iron Horse, I believe, and Lesley and I'd gone west to a shopping center, and we'd shopped a while, and then we headed back to get Sarah. It had rained where Sarah was. It did not rain where Lesley and I were. And when we got back to pick her up, the golf tournament was not happening. No Sarah anywhere. And I'm going, lovely. Wonder where Sarah is. Like, she'd actually left a note on the clubhouse door, but it had blown away. A girl that Sarah had met playing KCGA lived close. She'd gone home with her and her mom. They'd fed her, and then they brought her back. So we got her home, but
we had a great time shopping.
We did. So, yeah, it was successful.
It was.
We found Sarah.
But really and truly, I golfed for fun. I really did. I was always envious of Rachel and Amy, who could just get up there on the tee box and hit it so far and so long. And I was like, okay, get my 5-wood out. Just keep it in the fairway, Lesley. Keep it in the fairway.
Lesley, remember we were in Jeff City and your mom and I were sitting watching you, and you had a hole-in-one.
I do.
She did.
Tell us about this a little more.
She hit it. She hit the ball in the hole.
I mean,
in a tournament.
Okay.
Jeff City tournament.
Okay.
Yes, that we had gotten into because it was competitive.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Hit a hole-in-one.
Yeah.
She did.
I was excited, but you didn't know that? No big deal.
Sarah's waving her hand here, but Sarah, we got a story.
That's awesome, Les. I love it. That reminds me of, I'm the sentimental one. Today, my grandmother would have been 104. It's her birthday. My nan, my dad's mom, and she was very close. We were all very close, and she lived on the golf course as well. And I actually had a hole-in-one when I was 12, so that would have been in 1994 out here at Riverside Country Club, and I was playing with my grandmother. She and I were very close, but we were very different in personality. She had no problem letting the whole world know everything about her, and I was more quiet, but we were on number 6, and I teed off on the women's tee box, and I think I hit a 5-wood, and it landed on the green and rolled in the hole, and she just went crazy, jumped up and down, practically screaming. We go up 7 Hill, and she's telling everybody, look, she's had a hole-in-one, look, embarrassing me like crazy. That was on June 23rd of 1994, and then 3 years later, in 1997, June 23rd, I was playing in this KCGA golf league on Mondays, and I was at Blue Hills Country Club, and hit a 6-iron on, I can't remember the hole, but I had a hole-in-one. It was exactly 3 years later. So that was just a fun memory that June 23rd, I consider my lucky day.
Big Sis is going to back this up with another story, I think.
Well, Big Sis wasn't at any of the KCGA stuff because it probably cut into my social life. But Amy and I are looking at each other when I did not know Lesley hit a hole-in-one, which cracks me up because when you were asking her how she felt going into something that was competitive, and I'm thinking Lesley is the least competitive person at this table, and which is awesome. Taylor, are you competitive? No,
Not at all.
I might fall in the lower end, but I've never had a hole-in-one. I remember my sister has had 2. My dad had several. Nan had a hole-in-one. Amy and I are sitting here going, never in my life have I had a hole-in-one. Taylor, have you had a hole-in-one? No.
Okay, Taylor, I want you to do a couple things here. I want you to talk about being a young girl watching this happening in front of you, and then how that set the tone for your interest in it, and then bring in some of the names of your peers, because you just follow just kind of a generation behind. It was all part of this continuous success of the program.
Yeah, I knew all of these girls when I was little. I knew who all of them were. Not a competitive person, not super into sports at all. But I was always out here playing golf, and I was really jealous of all these girls that lived here on the golf course because I lived in the country, and it was a real pain to get here. And so I spent a lot of time calling my friends and saying, let's meet at the golf course, and basically just having my mom drop me off all day, packing my golf stuff, my swim stuff, and Anne probably saw me walking down the course in my swimsuit because I would jump back and forth with my friends. Luckily, I had a couple of friends that did the same thing, and we just spent a lot of time out here growing up in the summers. But I knew all of these girls. These were the big girls when I was a little girl, and I've always known them. I watched them. I knew they were excellent golfers. And like you said, it was just an expectation as you started to go up through the golf program that this is going to be a great team. We're going to do some great things. When I was a freshman, I was really lucky. I had some all-stars that were seniors that I got to watch. I played JV my freshman year because there were some amazing seniors and juniors on the golf team. My cousin, Brittany Swank, was an excellent golfer. She was who I was most jealous of because she lived here on the road. She played golf every day. There were lots of Pettigrew golf tournaments, which you talk about core memories. For me, that's our local youth golf tournament, was a huge part of every summer for me. And whenever I was growing up, several times my Aunt Renee Swank had me spend the night with Brittany and Caroline so that we could wash our clubs and get everything ready for the Pettigrew golf tournament. That was just a really important, special day that I looked forward to every summer. Brittany was a senior. Annie Hooker was a senior. Sheena Perry was a senior. And Cassie Murphy was a junior. So they were all just excellent powerhouse golfers. I remember we used to laugh so much about Annie because every single time you would see her on the course, you would say, "How are you doing?" And she would go, "Bad." And then she would turn in her score and it'd be like a 41. And I'd be like, we live on different planets if this is bad. They were just excellent. They went to state my freshman year. My best friend, Molly Holman, and I just rode along with Anne so we could follow them around because we were on JV, and we got to watch them get fourth at state.
Right.
They were so fun to watch, and they were all so locked in, a great team together, supported each other, worked really, really hard to make that goal.
Taylor, do you remember when I did you the favor?
I know what you're going to say.
I made a good friend of a guy named Chip, who was the coach at Pembroke. And
Wait, I got to stop you here. We have a golf person who is a coach, and their name is Chip. You guys are making this stuff up as we go.
That's right. And
we got Grandma Swings, and we have Chip, the golf coach.
He was the cutest little guy.
Okay, all right. Continue.
He was a nice little guy, and a lot of the public school coaches weren't nice to him. Ron and I were. He was a nice guy, and he always had great teams. And as he said, his job was to make sure that the bus was scheduled, and he got them on the bus because they all had their own private coaches, and they were basically rich kids, and the girls were nice.
They probably won state 2 or 3 years of the years that I was in high school. They were excellent golfers.
Yeah, they were always good. So he set up a meet between us and them. And
there was a third team, but I don't remember who it was.
I don't remember either. And Megan Schmidt, who was the 4th senior that year, had an FFA contest because their FFA judging team won state that year.
That's right.
And so she couldn't go to the golf meet. And so Taylor, I thought, I'll just get Taylor to go. She'll get to go play on this nice course. It was Mission Hills. Okay. Yeah, they're beside where Pembroke is. And so I thought, this will be great. And we get down there, it poured rain the entire time.
There were times that my golf club flew farther than my ball.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was just buckets raining, and my club would just slip out of my hand. I think it was the worst recorded golf meet outing I ever had.
Horrible.
It was horrible. And I remember you saying, aren't you so glad I brought you?
Aren't you glad I'm doing you a favor to come to this really nice course? And
you'll remember this experience your entire life, and turns out she does remember it.
I do. Vividly remember it. So then we had I had a great sophomore and junior year as well. I got to play with Cassie my sophomore year, an amazing golfer, an amazing teammate, so positive and encouraging. And then my junior and senior year, we had Hannah Barron, Hadley Jennings, and Aaron Smith. Yes. And all 3 of them came in as underclassmen, and Hadley blew us out of the water. She was an excellent golfer, still is. She comes back and plays here a lot with her dad. And we just had a lot of fun. And then senior year, we got 4th at state, and that was a really exciting moment for us.
Very exciting.
And now to come full circle, but about that time, someone's thinking about retiring. So, Coach, tell us how that unfolded and what was going through your mind when that came to an end.
Probably first and foremost, my parents were needing help. My mom had gone to the nursing home. I was spending a lot of time, even during the school day, going out there. Had a very understanding principal. I was able to leave off and on during the day and could do the rule of 80, where my age plus my years of service equaled 80. Of course, talked it over with Bruce, and I just decided, and it was late. It was like mid to late May when I decided that this was what I really needed to do, be available for my mom and dad. And I don't regret 1 minute that I did retire. I missed the kids. I subbed a lot, and that worked out really well. Of course, I didn't sub as a golf coach, but although I did a time or two for the boys.
Yeah, there you go.
I stepped in for Travis a time or two when his mom passed away, and it was the right thing to do.
I will say that I think it was really fun having Anne at the end of her career. She was probably a little more relaxed with my group than she was with these older groups. A few things that stuck out to me. We would come to the clubhouse every day and order food. We would come in and be like, Shirley, cook me up some curly fries, please. And about 4:00, we'd been sitting there for like 45 minutes just talking, having a great time. She'd be like, girls, do you think it's about time to get out to the course? Should we go start playing our 9 holes? And we'd be like, oh, fine, all right. After we've had our snacks. We had a great time. We had a lot of fun, and it was so fun having Ann as our coach.
Thanks. It was fun. Well, cell phones kind of surfaced around then. And they would have their cell phones, and I would drive my van if it was just, 5 of them going someplace. They would text each other from the front to the back, or they'd call each other from the front to the back of the car. And, it was just cracking me up. But
We'd also play our mixed CDs in your van that were totally inappropriate. And every once in a while, Ian would go, I think we should change this song. I don't think this is what we should be listening to right now.
Might have been when I finally understood a word that was in it.
Maybe that's what drove her to retirement was the music. Right?
We had this really good base for success that was started with the Hurst girls. And Rachel was kind of the bridge to something else. And all of a sudden, as a freshman, Sarah jumps in there, and you're coming off getting 7th place at the state. And Ann steps in, and you're talking 4th place at the state. All of a sudden, it's like, is that the moment when it kind of became real that you could
Play golf.
Well, no, not play golf, but walk home with plaques and trophies and things of that nature.
To back up really quick, when Amy was a senior and I was a freshman, probably from the moment I was born, all I wanted to do was anything Amy Hurst did.
Or Amy Jill.
Amy Jill. Amy Jill, Amy Jill, Amy Jill.
It was one word.
So when I was a freshman, I will never forget, we were on number 3 green. And I'm not as competitive as probably my sister is on the course, or that my dad probably would have liked me to be. And like Lesley said, it was easy. I was thankful that it was something that I could do growing up. And when I was a freshman and I was on number 3, and Amy and I were playing together, and I missed about a 2-foot putt. And she looked at me and she said, if you don't start taking your time, I'm going to kill you. And I thought, uh-oh, like, okay, I guess I better line something up. And so that was my freshman year. And I'll never forget, I was playing the 3rd spot, and I went to Chillicothe. It was our first match of the year. And I started on hole number 3 since I was in the 3rd spot. And I met one of my very best friends, Jamie Colt from Chillicothe. We played together. And I think we might have played with Brookfield that day too, and Adrian Sicaro from Brookfield, and the 3 of us were inseparable. So much so that my junior year, we were the last group to come in, and we were all playing the number 1 spot. We were the last group to come in out of here at RCC, and I think I shot even that day. And Jamie and Adrian did not, and their coaches would not let them play with me ever again because we just took a long time. The turning point for me, to be honest with you, was my sophomore year. And the summer after my sophomore year, we went to golf camp at Iowa State. Beautiful campus. And we went to golf camp, and I just remember that was the first time I was like, okay, like I think we can dial in and maybe do some stuff, because I was going to be a junior. Sarah was going to be a freshman. And I also thought to myself, I probably ought to spend a little time chipping and putting, because she's coming up behind and she could probably easily beat me quick. And so we all went to Iowa State. We kind of locked in. We played a little bit more golf that summer, and we never lost a match. Like we never lost a match. And I can remember we played a lot of golf. We played a lot of matches and duels and even like triangulars. We went a lot of places. We played in La Plata. We went to Schuyler County. I remember being at Plattsburgh. We went to Richmond. We went to Sedalia Country Club. Ronnie was the AD. And I got to say, looking back, they put us in some tough stuff. And in hindsight, it was the best thing for us, right? Because we could beat everybody around here. They took us everywhere. So Sarah came along. Lesley came along. Jessica Foster was a senior my junior year. She played golf. And I can remember we made a bet. Clint Howard was my best friend growing up besides Amy. Amy was like my sister, older sister. And Clint and I would just challenge each other, I mean, really daily about everything and on the golf course. And I can remember we made a bet with Mom that year that if we placed at state, she would dye her hair. Purple. And I'm not sure why we chose purple, but we chose purple. And that year we played one day of state because it snowed, and it snowed us out. And thank goodness it snowed us out, because I don't know what we would have done the second day, but the first day we were played fourth. And it's interesting because you look at when we're all in one class and the Pembroke Hills and the Villa de Shins and Hickman at the time, their coach at Hickman played at Mizzou,
Right.
Stephanie Priestmeyer. And, there were good golf teams out there, and I don't know how we did it, but we did. And then we were pretty fired up after that junior year. And I say fired up in the sense of Sarah probably practiced a lot more than I did.
We couldn't find Sarah in the snow, and she was down chipping and putting.
That's about right. Yes. Okay. So we couldn't find Sarah. I was probably drinking.
Hard to read putts in the snow.
Yes.
I was probably drinking hot cocoa with Lesley because we were probably like, we are not doing this. And then our senior year, when we got to state, and Cameron had a foreign exchange student that was from Sweden that was a golfer. And I thought to myself, oh, she's fine. She's not that good. Well, she was like even. Like, I'll never forget. She shot even, and I was hitting out of the lake on hole number 10 because I was not going to take a penalty stroke, despite what Joe Slonecker was probably wanting me to do. But I remember we faced some challenges there. But my senior year, when we got to state and won it those 2 days, and there's a picture of Sarah and I that is like,
It's pure joy.
It is
what it is.
And probably a little shock too that we were able to pull that off, right? Like, it was so fun. And she placed higher than I did. And so she was in the last group coming up, or one of the last groups coming up. And so I got the privilege of watching her finish. But I also remember there was a girl that 15 putted on hole number 18.
Before they had the rule where you could just, they played it out, right?
They play it out now too.
Do they? Okay.
They played it out. And this poor girl, and she was
from Villa.
She was from Villa, and Villa might have placed second or third. Villa was coming up behind us on that. And she 15 putted on hole number 18 because all 4 years that I was at state was at Columbia Country Club. And long story short, my husband worked at Columbia Country Club. He's a couple years older than I am. So I was a senior. He was in college. He worked at Columbia Country Club, mowing and all that stuff. And he set that pin placement, I found out. So
That's the first I've heard that.
Well, that's not the last. So he set that pin placement, he and the superintendent, because I always tell that story, and they're like, oh, yeah, because after that, they moved it. So after that girl 15 putted, it was no longer at Columbia Country Club because of that. Yeah. But no, it was, I think it too, Jeff, back to your question, I don't think we ever felt the pressure. I think we just played golf.
Right.
I think we had snacks, and I think we played golf, and I think we had a blast. And there were a few times my mom and I would get into it. I threatened to play tennis. She said she would call Bosley and give him a heads up. It wasn't like pressure. And it's interesting because I think now, and I look at teams that like compete for postseason stuff, right? Whether it's basketball or football, and that's all the talk, right? Well, back in 1997, there was no talk about, oh, are the girls going to win it? Are they going to get to state? I think it just happened.
I will concur with you on that because I remember, this was been my second year, I think, but that it wasn't on the radar. Like, you guys were good. Yeah. And then when the news broke, it was like, they did what? And,
right.
You know, it was a quick, like, oh my gosh, we have a state champion, because it also broke a dry spell at Trenton for state championships because you have to go back to the 66 football team, and technically they didn't win a MSHA state championship. You got to go back to the 1941 boys golf team that technically won, but the tournaments were run a little different then. So yeah, it turned from a no deal to a big deal fast.
I was just going to say nobody was paying attention in 2007 either, or 2004. In fact, I do
my best work when nobody's paying attention, so I understand that.
A great friend of mine, Jim Weaver, was on the boys golf team, same time I was on the girls golf team, and we were just recently swapping stories, and he said, "You did what? Twice while you were in high school, your team placed at state?" And they had a great boys golf team, and I'm like, "You did?" And just no one was paying attention. We also had an excellent boys football program while I was in high school. That was all anybody was focused on, was DeAndre Van Devender.
Well, that was 07-08 year then, because they won They went into the football playoffs.
That's right.
Right. And then they also won the state championship in track.
That's right.
Right.
Yes.
So there was a group of guys that got a lot of headlines.
An excellent group of boy athletes in my class. And so, nobody was paying attention to the golfers. And that's my favorite joke because I'm really unathletic and uncompetitive is that I'm a state, all state player at a sport because I'm pretty unathletic in every way. Got lucky.
You're a good golfer. You're a good golfer, Taylor.
So one of the quotes made after one of the tournaments about that quick green was that you hadn't practiced for anything quite like that, and that the next year she was going to prepare you by taking you to the bowling alley. I think it was because you said it was so slick, it was like a bowling alley surface.
Oh, it was.
You remember that quote?
I do not, but I like it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the bowling alley roof collapsed that year, so you never really got to take your team there to practice.
It was a steep grade, and I was ready to cry for this poor girl. It was horrible watching it. And back then, coaches and parents were not allowed on the course.
Another thing that's changed over the years.
What a
You
big
couldn't
thing.
talk to them. You couldn't.
No.
That is correct. That's correct. In fact, when I started coaching last year, there's several things that have changed.
Right. And coaches can go, green to tee and talk with their kids?
You can go up until they are basically, once they're on the putting surface, you cannot talk to them or be within like 20 yards, right? They don't want you doing hand signals, reading the green and all that stuff. But it's insane. These coaches, and there's all these parents, and the gallery is ridiculous, and they have to stay on the cart path, and
they don't.
And so, like all these rule breakers out there, and I'm like, I don't know, it's crazy how that is, but it is definitely different. But last year I had 2 girls that qualified for state, and I'm looking, and you know how this state, Misha, does like the 20-year celebration. I'm looking out at the state, first place, second place, third place, fourth place from 20 years ago, and it's mom with, what was last year, 24, 25, so 24. So mom, so I'd take a picture because that would have been 04.
04.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you were famous. Oh, Brittany's year. So 04. So so there was mom, and so that was kind of neat. So a lot has changed since we played.
I'm gonna lead you into this event.
Okay.
So going into the event, you guys had cleaned up at districts.
Yes.
Like you did every year. You kind of built your program the way that Ron Hurst built the wrestling program. Let's just dominate this district and then take our shot in the state tournaments. You said that you thought Lee Summit North, Blue Springs, and Mexico would be among the top teams.
Yes.
And you said we're as good as they are, and if the girls go down to Columbia and play as well as they can, we should be fine. Okay? That was your mentality. Now, on day one, they shot a 393.
Okay.
Rachel had a 93, Sarah a 90, Crystal at 104, and Lesley had a great first day with a 100.
I had a girl, Les.
Yeah.
So at that point, you had a pretty big lead
Yes.
going into day 2. I mean, relatively big. Not if people were going to 15 putt, that wasn't going to hold up, but
Right.
but you had a good lead. There was a quote in the Kansas City Star of the Lee Summit North coach saying, "I'm just glad we're not in the lead. That's the tough position to be in."
I remember
like she was trying to get in your head.
I remember
trying
that.
to get in your head. And
didn't work.
What she didn't know is you guys didn't think about that kind of stuff.
We didn't even know it. Like, I think we were thinking where we were going to eat and what hotel we were staying at, and if at that time maybe the Buckle had a sale, And so I think that was our thing. I remember after we won, we went to Olive Garden. We shut it down. We all made toasts, like it was pretty. I didn't even know that. Mom, why didn't you get feisty with that lady?
Well, she didn't say it to me. She said it to the Kansas
reporter.
City Star.
So what they
City,
finish?
The Kansas City article was, of course, focused on their local teams and how
Actually-
they stood after day one.
Okay.
And actually, the
Barely mentioned.
the St. Louis paper covered us better
than the Kansas City paper.
Kansas City
That's correct.
paper.
Really?
I was not a happy camper about that.
I wonder what Lee Summit ended up finishing that year. You know that off the top
Well,
of your
they
head?
fell back.
Well, yeah, they
Blue
did.
Springs made the run at you.
Okay.
Yes.
Blue Spring. Yeah, that's
Yes.
exactly right.
Well, my thought on that is putting pressure on anyone, especially golf, does not cause you to play better. I think it's the worst thing you can do.
I wonder if Blue Springs had that.
Heather Mize.
Heather Mize. That's exactly right. I remember her for
Yep.
sure. She was good. They had a couple really good ones. I always remember my favorite story, and then I'll let Sarah talk a little bit. But Mom was asking me last night at dinner after the Mizzou game, and she said, do you have to take your scores, when you finish districts or a match, do you have to take them somewhere? And I looked at her and I was like, no, I just post them on our Facebook page. We don't, Hallsville doesn't have a radio station. We don't have a newspaper. So social media is it. And that's, hit or dry. But she, was talking about how she would have to have it up there at the radio and the newspaper.
Same time.
At the same time. Okay. Well, my hands down favorite question that you have ever been asked, ever in an interview.
Let's have it.
What do you do? Was it what do you do to prepare to play in the rain?
No, it was how is your rain gear?
How is your rain gear
different from the other teams?
How is your rain gear different from the other teams? And we wore bright yellow 2-piece rain suits. I mean, we looked like bananas out on that course. And so what did you say?
I said, ours is yellow. I can see them on the course.
There you go.
Maybe Sarah needed that when we were playing in the snow.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to ask the big sister to let the little sister speak a little bit about that experience, especially that last day, since she was the last one coming up the course, finished it off.
In the transition, I'm going to ask Coach here. So you got to take 5 golfers to this.
Yes.
Now, not a lot of schools get to take 5. You can take 4 and still compete at state. But in this, you take 5. So let me ask you this question. When you take 5, on the first day, you take the best 4 of those 5 scores.
Yes.
Then it kind of resets for day 2.
Yes.
All 5 go out, but it could be a different 4 that come in with that score.
Exactly, Chris.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, I just remember the last day. This has been spoken of a little bit before, but like my mom said, the you do not want to put pressure on anyone in competitive sports, especially golfers. I definitely did not need pressure on me. I had enough. Sarah puts enough pressure on Sarah herself. So I think the strength of our team, and for me playing that last day in that last group and, everybody watching, and there was already enough pressure, was really your mental game. Golf is your mental game. And so having been prepared that you have a certain mindset to go up and do your best shot, and you have your basics and have your mind just with a couple of key thoughts, and then being able to expect that you are going to have some missed shots, but be able to bounce back from that and forget, what was behind, and just focus on the present and what you have right there was really key for me to go out there on that last day and handle that mental pressure and just turn it into that we're going to be mentally strong and we're going to come in strong, and being oblivious to certain things, it is good. And all we can do is our personal best. And the only person that we can control is ourselves, and know that we've prepared for that time. And I do remember that last hole coming up, and I was thankful that my pitch was 5 feet below the hole. So I had an uphill 5-foot putt. Just knowing that mindset that that you've already put in the time, you've put in the practice, you have support, you have good fundamentals, is what will lead to success. And then when we had that in the end, that was such a joy to have. So
I'm kind of a stats nerd, and when I go deep into this kind of stuff, I look for these things. And when we did a story about Gallatin, their 5th golfer score came into play.
I remember
they
that.
tied in 2018, I believe, with Hayden Bradford. So, Lesley, day 1, I mean, you come into this, and one of your scores is a really good score, like an even 100 in the first round that got you guys propelled toward this championship. In the second day, a different person came in with the 4th best score. So all of your golfers were a piece of that score. I mean, did that give you some relaxation that on day 1, your score was marked, you had contributed, you could go out and just play that second day? I mean, how did you feel about that?
Yeah, I don't remember.
I do.
That much. But I do remember Sarah telling me a lot that golf is a mental game. And I tried to stay focused in my own head. Whereas, I play basketball too. And basketball is physical and athletic. It's based upon your athletic ability. And golf, just staying focused on what I needed to do. And I never wanted to be first.
I remember, at state, after the first day, then the coach has no say-so as to who your players are paired with. Lesley liked playing the number 5 spot because it helped her with her confidence. So she comes in, I think, 3rd for us. You had 100.
Money, yeah.
Okay. And so that meant she had to play in the 3rd position the second day. And you kept saying to me, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that, Ann. I want to play number 5. And I said, I don't have any control over it.
That's what happens when you're good.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, I didn't really
Ramping up the competition.
Yeah.
No, but one day I do remember playing with, and I think you'll appreciate this, Rick Sutcliffe, his daughter,
Oh,
Shelby
Yeah.
Sutcliffe.
yeah. I'd forgotten that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Played for the Cubs and the Royals?
Yes.
Cardinals, maybe? Okay. And he bought me lunch
The
one
Dodgers
day.
pitcher and the Cubs
So-
pitcher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was, I don't know if that was at State, though. Do you remember?
I don't remember.
That's pretty cool, though.
Okay.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so let's take that particular year. I mean, you win. What happens? I mean, is it like the Ryder Cup? There's not champagne flowing. I understand that, but I'm talking about people running into each other's arms and coming out on the course. And what was the reaction? Or was it kind of, a subtle golf clap?
We were pretty excited.
We were really excited. Like I said, like Sarah and I think just looked at each other in disbelief. I think our dad was also slightly shocked, but obviously we're so proud. Like in our circle, right, in our golf world, we were ecstatic. But like you said, it's not like we were expected to win. It's not like there was buzz around it. There just wasn't that coverage, and it's just different, right? It's just different than it was. And honestly, I remember we had an assembly when we got back. I remember Clint, of course, pointing out that Sarah beat me, which was, and I could not have been prouder of her. And yeah, I remember a little assembly, and I remember us celebrating at the Olive Garden in Columbia. But short of that,
Our house was TP.
our house was TP'd. Who was
The
it?
football team. Yeah. I mean, Craig Lewis was beside himself.
Oh, I'm
excited.
sure he was. Yes.
And were you not a part of that? Did you?
Was not a part of that.
Okay.
Was not a part of it. Did not-
Okay.
I mean, is that just the vandalism
I
part?
did not. You're right.
Okay. As an administrator, you got to step back on that.
Yeah. I mean,
I get that.
There were lots of people real
Yeah.
excited. And my parents were there.
Yeah. My aunt was there. I think she bought a table at an antique store. Amy and Jill were there. Marcia and Ronnie were there.
We had lots of people.
Like, within our family, and I mean family, like extended family too.
Lesley, your mom was there when your dad. Yeah. your
Oh, yeah.
dad
Like
was
everybody
there.
was there. Murray was there.
Oh, yeah. Murray
Because
was there with Brandy. Yeah.
And I love how you pointed out, Jeff, that it was all 5, right? And to me, that is what makes it so special, is when everybody can contribute, whether it's on one day or both days, or it just speaks for itself. But it was fun. I mean, it was awesome. Like, it was so fun and kind of shocking.
Mm-hmm.
At Jill, the OG.
OG on the mic.
I have to say, I mean, you guys are so downplaying this. Like, no, this is like a big deal. It's huge. And I was in Kansas City because I'm a little bit older than you guys. And I mean, Marcia Hurst knew you guys were going to win. And so did Lyndall Slonecker. Like, without a doubt, right? Like, that, I mean, the Missouri press might not have been on it, but like the Grundy press was totally on it.
They were on it.
Yeah. I mean, so no, you guys, I mean, I have chills, and I still remember I remember that day. I remember everyone talking. I remember coming home for Christmas and like seeing the pictures and everything in the paper. And it was phenomenal. So
It was very special.
yes, very special.
Very special.
Very special. Do you want to ask?
Yes. So I got to be on that celebration because I was at Mizzou. But yes, I came out and watched them the first day with, the same as them, probably like, yeah, they're doing awesome. And then I definitely came out the second day. I think I got a call from either Lily or Marcia, and like, this is happening. So I was there, and remember Sarah coming up the last hole, and like Jill said, they are downplaying it because it was amazing and phenomenal. And I'm still to this day, even tell people, my kids compete in the 6A class. I'm like, yeah, we my high school team won state, and I went to state 4 times, so we're kind of a big deal.
It's like Hoosiers.
Maybe.
I mean, it's like the movie Hoosiers,
Yeah. The small town.
Small town.
I will give you one little story too about that. So I was just a second year teacher, and I remember talking to some of these girls at basketball. And at that time, our gym did not have state banners in it. And I said, "You guys should have like a banner in here or something." And you said, I think maybe it was you said, "You should do that. You can do that." I said, "I can't do that." 20 years later, when I was the AD and we redid the gym, I'm the one that ordered your state championship banner.
And let me tell you something. Coming back, right? So I graduated in 98 and followed Amy wherever Amy went. And I can remember coming home and I can remember not seeing anything, right? Like, because you go to these other schools and, I teach now and, I'm coaching, and I meant to tell you that. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was, I'm sure I did say, get on it. Like,
right. Like, hey, are you going to do that? Well, I'm not sure I have the power at this point.
Second-year teacher.
As a second-year teacher to be hanging
I
stuff.
felt like you did.
Yeah,
so at that point, that's an okay.
But eventually, that debt got paid.
Yeah. It's funny because, Amy, you talk about how, my high school, and so I started coaching last year with the girls golf at Hallsville, and it's so fun. And I had a group that they had played, right? So I had 6 seniors and I had 4 freshmen. And I can remember a bunch of coaches at Hallsville giving me a hard time because they're like, "You don't practice on Fridays?" No. And I said, "Listen,
no."
I said, "We were state champions and we never practiced on Fridays." And so I said, "I'm just following what my mom did, because I can remember calling mom and I'd be like, 'What do I do at practice?' It is one thing to be able to play. It's another thing to be able to coach, right? And to teach somebody how to do it." And so those 6 graduated, and we did what's called a rebuilding year this year. And I had 19 girls come out for golf. 7 tried to dual sport, but I had 12 regularly, and only 4 had really ever picked up a club. Yet the ones, when we go back, to full circle here, right? When we first started talking, and we're talking about the youth circuit, the North Missouri youth tour we were on. The girls in our conference were in the Tri-County Conference, and the girls that won it, the girls from California and Eldon, Blair Oaks, I have a couple girls from Southern Boone that I follow. They all play MGA, right? They all play MGA. They all play in the summer. Hallsville doesn't have a golf course. So when you look at, we go to Centralia, that's our home course. So when you look at how blessed we were, right? How blessed we were, how easy it was for us. Our parents all were supportive. We walked. I would drive to golf practice, let's be honest, but right, it's so easy for us. And I think, when we talked about this, and I love that you guys are doing all of these podcasts, and we're so fortunate that you guys are letting us come share our story today. It is something that is so ingrained in our life stories, right? And it is something that we get to share together. It is something that we get to tell our kids. I know Taylor's got her kids out on that golf course, and Leslie's daughter's not a golfer, but she's an athlete, and she knows the dedication it comes, and it's just something that we definitely don't take for granted, and it is a blessing to us.
I want to go over just some stuff, okay?
Okay.
And then we'll kind of do a wrap up because we're plus an hour. And
well, Jeff, there's like 7 women at this table. 7 women.
Imagine if I had enough microphones for everyone.
Listen, just if you had enough microphones, and if Lily was here, like I'm telling you, she would just hide behind number 7 green, or there was a big tree behind number 7, and she and Marsha would be out there. Marsha would be barefoot, and she would have her ice cubes made of lemonade. And it's just, those are core memories. We'd play golf. Like Taylor said, we'd play golf. We would swim. We'd order a shrimp basket at the pool. We'd dump off the deck, and then we'd go chip and putt. Shirley hooked us up, right? We'd charge mom's account. We'd charge dad's account. When mom said it was too much, we'd go to dad. Like, it was, I'm telling you, you just cannot be. We always joke, Amy and I always joke, we're like, are you headed to Grundy? Like, we refer to Grundy, and we say, there is nothing better than Town and Country. There is absolutely nothing but, I wish that is something I could give my kids, right? Is to grow up the way we did. It's a blessing.
Very special.
You could.
All right, moving on. Jeff, how did you want to wrap this up?
Well, we talked earlier about how Amy was the first state qualifier.
She was.
We kind of glossed over that Sarah was the first state medalist.
She 100% was. Let's give it to her.
We're proud of that accomplishment. I mean, that was the thing. That was a big thing.
It was a huge thing. She was the local story of the year.
I've got the clipping downstairs.
There you go.
So does Loma. So does Loma.
So when you get past this, I mean, Lesley and Sarah didn't just say, well, we've been to the mountaintop. That's all. We're done. You guys continued to play strong and place in the top 10 in the state, finishing 9th and then 5th that last year. And that score was 753. I mean, that score would win the state a couple of years before.
Let me tell you, Jeff, I don't know if you looked up the numbers, but we won with the highest team score in the state of Missouri. And what a blessing that was, right? Like the golf gods were looking at us.
Timing is everything.
Timing is everything. And I would challenge anybody. Yeah, no, we did. It was awesome.
I don't think the trophy says at the bottom, one with the highest score. No, it says state champion.
You're exactly right, You're exactly right.
But that tells you something, because women's golf became a thing. It wasn't just a flash in the pan.
Right.
It became a thing. People devoted a lot of time and energy and kept getting better at it. And then there were more good players and that better competition. And that just kept going. And yet you guys weren't getting knocked out of anything. So 5th place finish in your final year with Sarah and Lesley. Jill Henderson was part of that group, Crystal Fox. Then in 2001, you got another 7th place with Brittany Swank and Jill Henderson. 2002, 7th place with Avery Jennings in that group. Some of the other players we've talked about, Cassie Murphy, Sheena Perry, Annie Hooker, and Brittany Swank. 2003, you got Avery coming on, and again, and Annie and Cassie and Brittany, and they finished 5th with a 740, and then a 743 the next year, finished 4th in the state. Team set a record for a low team round all time, Trenton history, at Richmond.
Wow. I'd forgotten that.
In 2007.
Coach of the decade over here.
So that 2007 team had Hadley, Molly Holman, Taylor Cox, Hannah Barron, and it was Ann's last year as a coach. I mean, that's a pretty good way to go out.
It is a good
low score ever.
Yeah.
4th place trophy. Then in 2009, Hadley finished 5th, which I think may be the highest.
I think it is.
Scored.
Yes.
And placed at the state tournament.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Chandler was part of that at that point, Hannah Griffin and Aaron Smith. So there's a lot of names there, a lot of people we've watched grow up in the community. From the podcast, I just say congratulations. It's just quite an accomplishment, and it's fun to talk about on our podcast, Chris.
Right. And all of these stories need to be told, because there are many stories all around Northwest Missouri about schools having a pop-up run. What makes these stories great to me is the line of success that we had, that it just didn't go for 1 or 2 years, but you built something that lasts for 20 years or 25 years. And the pinnacle was a state championship. So what a great story for Trenton. What a great story for North Missouri. And it gives kids that are coming up something to shoot for, which also helps maintain and build more success in the future.
Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Jeff.
And it's really, it's part of that story that we keep telling. It's about parental involvement. It's about making the sport fun for kids. It's about the support, no matter how many people that was, or if everybody knew it, or if it got in the front page of the paper every time. But the people that supported you were there every step of the way. And it's about you guys developing that sisterhood, in this case, that family environment, and that helped you pull through and do great things. And we have been thrilled to talk about this today, Chris. And I just want to close this out. Thank everybody for listening to Show Me Sports Legacies.